Yeah, Sunday.
Brooklyn?
Yes.
No on Councilor
Okay.
Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's up in Seattle.
He had said that, get a hold of him and see, he might be able to phone in, but he's not in a position where he can do that in here. He said he will follow online though.
Okay, sounds good. All right, are we ready? Well, welcome everyone to the Monday, April 8th Common City Council meeting. We'll start at 7 o'clock. We'll rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Counselor Malmberg.
Here.
Counselor Prada.
Here.
Counselor Martin. Counselor Fulton. Here. Mayor Hodges.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. So just to state it out, item D is oral requests and communications. We have none.
I have not received any.
Okay, moving on. Agenda item E, consent calendar. Number 1 is to approve council minutes for March 25th, 2024. Number 2 is to accept Parks and Recreation minutes for October 26th, 2023. And number 3 is to accept Planning Commission minutes for March 5th, 2024.
We'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
A second?
A second?
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item F, staff reports, public hearing, ordinances, resolutions, and final orders. And this is the letter of support for Beacon Broadband. I think the city manager wants to take that.
Yes, so this evening, we have Val Early with representing Beacon Broadband, who would like to address the council. And in that address, ask for the council's support in signing a letter of support for Beacon Broadband.
Thank you. Val Early on behalf of Beacon Broadband. I'm here to request a letter of support for the Beacon Broadband project through the grant application process with the Broadband Deployment Program. The Broadband Deployment Program is administered by the Oregon Broadband Office, and it is the use of ARPA funds. It took a little while for those funds to be, figured out how they were going to distribute those, come up with the application process, come up with the broadband handbook. And so when that happened, the timeline got rather short. The funds all have to be expended by the end of 2026. And so they opened the grant application process on March 25th. And so that's why the letters of support that we've been requesting have been on such a short timeline. They didn't give us any time, and I was not with Beacon at that time. So I'm catching up. But currently, just for your records, over 1,800 customers within the city limits utilize Beacon Broadband services, and we'll be moving those to unincorporated areas further north of Port Orford. So the grant application is going to cover what is referred to as Phase 2 in the Beacon Broadband plan. And so it will be from north of Port Orford into Coos County and primarily in the unincorporated areas, including out into Powers. And so this letter of support that we're requesting is simply, a partnership with the city saying that, we support Beacon Broadband's continued efforts. Are there any questions?
No, thank you. Any questions?
No, I have no questions, but I do have some comments. We are one of those broadband customers, and we've been fantastically impressed by the company, by the customer service, and the service that we've received. One of my children was formerly in IT, and his word carries way more weight than mine when it comes to his dealings with tech companies, and he could not believe the customer service that he received. And the one comment he made is, I hope as they grow, it just continues in that same way. So I'm very happy to support your efforts. Also had a son who couldn't get internet service living upriver and was able to get it and actually continue to use, do the things he was accustomed to when he lived in town. So I'm grateful for what you guys are doing and happy to support it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
The letter that's in the packet is the letter submitted by Beacon. And so if there are any changes that the council wants to make on it, then we can make note of those, or if the council is fine with what it is. Just wanted to put that out.
It's drafted with your signature. Do you have any issues with it?
No.
Okay. Are there any more comments?
Any more questions or comments? Okay. Want to make a motion?
I will motion to authorize the mayor to sign the support letter for Beacon Broadband Incorporated fiber to the home of Oregon's rural South Coast.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Second.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. So agenda item G, informational non-action items. Non-action, but it's the March 2024 vouchers, page 9. And then I think city manager might want to discuss a little bit about the recruitment update as well.
So I talked with this morning Richard at Beacon. He said that as of this morning, there are 11 applicants for the position. It's the first look for the position is April 21st. It will remain open after April 21st, but that's when he'll start going through the applications and eliminating those that are not qualified for it. And then we'll start speaking with those who are moving forward for the initial interview, as far as setting up interviews with them for Prothman to be able to interview them. As a side note, I did just get today an advertisement from another one of the executive recruitment companies for Scappoose, who's also looking for a city manager, which is fairly near the coast and is the same size as Brookings. So I also did talk with him, Milton Freewater, though in geographically a very different place in Northeast Oregon. It's very same size, has a lot of very similar features. And so I did ask him to reach out. They've gone through their hiring process, and I did ask him to speak with the recruiter for that, which Prothman is the company, but it's a different person who's running that recruitment. I asked him to speak with that recruiter, and if there were a couple of like the runner-up and the next runner-up who are highly qualified candidates, to check our list and see if they've applied, and if not, to reach out to them and see if they would be interested in applying for this application. Certainly many similarities, but geographically a very different location.
I was telling the city manager that as well, with that company and what the city is paying them. I would expect them to do a little bit of outreach, not just receive and, you know, for lack of a better word, hunt those really good candidates. So I'm glad to hear that. Anyone else? All right, moving on to the last agenda item, letter I. Well, before, letter H, sorry. Remarks from the mayor, councilors, and city manager.
I have a few comments. More than a few. We'll keep it to one page, though. With recent events unfolded, now is the time to reflect on one's actions and how they impact the greater community. For serving one's interest at the expense of others is a selfish endeavor. While recent events have indicated otherwise, common sense would indicate that serving the greater community is a more noble cause. My hope is that the opportunity to reassess how we impact those around us is not lost, and the acknowledgement that the lack thereof has created the issue in the first place. There are some in our community that are in need due to circumstances outside of their control. It is a noble cause to provide a hand up and empower them to make a change in their lives for the better. However, it should be acknowledged that there are a significant number of others who are in that situation by choice. Those who are unwilling to change or work, but instead prefer to live off of the goodwill of those hardworking individuals who get up every morning and do what needs to be done. Providing for those has become an industry funded by you and me. Providing for those unwilling to do what needs to be done, even though they are able, does not help. It enables and reinforces negative behavior. In fact, it has the opposite of the intended effect, in which they become dependent on services and have no self-worth. Self-worth does not come from a handout and dependency. It comes from working for the things you want out of life. I, like most people, value hard work, dedication, and service above all else. There is no greater person than the one that does what needs to be done to provide for their families and their community. I want to take this opportunity to honor those men and women and recognize them, for they are the backbone of this community.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to comment on the city's website and how great the new website looks and how much easier it is to navigate. I don't know who is responsible for that, but whoever it was, I say thank you. I think that's, they did a great job, and I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, I agree, and Brooklyn has certainly had a big hand in that transition and just how things look and the way it's done. So I
It's
give a
not
lot
e-
of compliments to her for that.
Yeah, and it's not even just the look. Like, it's so much easier to navigate. I found so many things that I never even knew were on there before.
Good, I'm glad.
So, yeah, I really applaud your efforts and everybody else involved. It was very well done.
Yes, Lori Zemer and Michelle Robidoux were also a huge help in that.
Thank you, Lori. Yeah, genuinely, it's really a great, refreshing change.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And just to piggyback off that a little bit, I think the intention as well is to use it for more communication, because we know that's been lacking. So I think we've started that even maybe with the current sinkhole situation, but using it for that purpose as we move along. Any other comments or?
I have a quick one from Councilor Martin.
Okay.
He just wanted to pass along that the ocean salmon season for Brookings, they're up there negotiating that now through this, but it's been decided the salmon season for Brookings is 108 days from May 15th to August 31st, with a 2 king salmon a day limit, the longest ocean opportunity in quite some time. The Pacific Fishery Management Council meeting here in Seattle concludes on Wednesday.
Excellent.
Good work.
There's one other item that I don't know if it's, maybe we can, each counselor can look at it independently, but last council meeting I brought up the fact that recently the county had adopted a resolution, Curry County, as well as Crescent City, and I believe even Del Norte County, as well as our tribal partners, I believe with the Talawahdeeni, drafted a resolution in opposition to the offshore wind energy project. And I'd like us to take a look at that draft resolution. I sent the city manager a copy of what the county put together, and I'd like us to look at that and see if that's something that we're in agreement with. I feel it'd be, I think it's important to stand alongside our other community members and have a united voice against it. So I know that the city's drafted a letter, but I guess what I'm looking more for is a resolution, which is a little different. Not that we need to take a vote on it. I just want everyone to look at it. That's all.
Again, to piggyback off of that, I have spoken with one commissioner, more in passing. It wasn't really the topic of the evening, but it was in passing on that, as well as the Tolowa, members of the Tolowa tribe. And they were very supportive even of, and I don't know how we would go about it. That would be something to figure out, but of a combined letter, which from the get-go I think is more powerful. I would like to have a letter from every county and rep on the coast and city with everyone's name on it. I don't know how possible that is, but definitely I agree on your sentiment. I don't know the best way, but I agree.
I did have one other thing I wanted to comment on, and that was the Planning Commission minutes. Again, there were 3 short-term rentals approved, and I'm very for short-term rentals. I appreciate them, we utilize them, but I do have concerns on overutilizing those and the impact it could have on our community. So I would like, I know Tony Barron suggested maybe we do a partnership meeting with the Planning Commission, and I am wondering if there isn't some way for us to put a stay on further actions until we can get something figured out and in place. That's in the last 2 months, that's 5 new approvals, and I think it might give them something to utilize right now until we can figure out what that looks like and how to best. The lower level cost of homes is my concern, especially for our community.
So when you talk about a stay, are you meaning some sort of a stop to further applications or approvals?
Temporarily, as we explore what that looks, what like percentages of what those rentals are going to be in our community, so that we keep like homes available for those that are looking in, tends to be lower price ranges. Those houses come in and quickly get bought up, and then people looking for homes have a harder time even qualifying. So that's my really big concern for our community in particular, is that we don't oversaturate the market with short-term rentals while people struggle to find homes.
Yeah, I don't know what the process would be on that legality-wise.
I don't either.
Yeah, okay.
I think that I'd support having a workshop to discuss it further. We discussed the idea a while back in a joint workshop meeting with the city council and the planning commission when I was on the planning commission. And some ideas were kind of thrown around at that time, but none were adopted. And I think that the process would be to, based on the outcome of the meeting, would be to, you would have to make a change to the Brookings Code section that allows for that conditional use. That would be the process, I believe. But I'm certainly open, and I support having a workshop to discuss it further. I think that it's a valid concern.
I don't want us to be hasty in that decision or rush to it. And my concern is if it takes us 6 months, a year, how much time goes by, I don't know what that process will look like, but it's more challenging if we're trying to get two boards together also. So that was the thought on a temporary hold on licenses until something more permanent can be decided on that ordinance. And I don't know if that is possible or what the legalities are or not, was just a thought.
I don't know if we can, is my concern.
Yeah.
I think you have to draft in an ordinance and bring it into the code. I don't think that without that being prepared and in front of us tonight, I don't know that we're able to do that, my concern.
Oh, I'm not meaning doing that
Okay.
at this moment.
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah.
meaning explore it as an
Gotcha.
option while we try to figure out something
I understand.
to really watch out for our residents. And I know the short-term rentals are great income. I have people who make a living utilizing that tool. And again, I'm very supportive of short-term rentals, but I do think we need to watch out for the residents of our community and those trying to find homes.
Yeah, I understand. Well, Councilor Fulton, did you have any last comments?
Not tonight.
Are you serious?
I know, speechless I am.
All right, well, I have a few. I want to start off with a bunch of positives, or maybe not. They're not negative. The first one, the TLT funds and the discussion of that committee, if you will. I would like to continue to engage in that. I want the decision burden off of the city and into a committee of some sort where tough and transparent decisions can be made. It has to have oversight, absolutely. I'm not saying it shouldn't, but I believe the current process allows for, if nothing else, an accusation of unfairness or lack of transparency, and I don't think that is good for the city. And I know it's not occurring, but sometimes things can look a certain way. And much like the Planning Commission, they make decisions, we see why. And so I would like to have that discussion at least continued and not fade away. Also, I want to thank all the volunteers. It's been a few weeks now, or maybe even a month, but I've been doing cleanup. I've also seen some advertisements of some upcoming cleanups for the beaches and other areas. These are cleanups done by individuals who put their time, their money, their effort, blood, sweat, and tears out of love of their community. And so thank you to all those volunteers that do that. And I just want you to know you're noticed. I know the one that took place, I don't know, a month or so ago. I mean, it had to have been truckloads of cleanup and trash removal. So thank you for all of you who do that without the expectation of accolades. I want to thank the city workers and the leadership for their amazing response to a few things that have happened this last week. But most notably would be the late sinkhole that started to happen due to a failed line over there. On Oak and 101. So thank you to everyone and the quick reaction and time on that. I know it ended up taking a little bit longer, but that was because some further investigation saw that there needed to be a few more repairs and those parts needed to come in. So unfortunately, that road was closed a little longer than expected, but the workers were right there and ready, so that's great. And then there's been a lot of things. I use one example, which is the the workshop we had, or wasn't a workshop, but where Brett Curtis presented what they'd come up with, the community partners down in the downtown. I guess it's not an official committee, so I won't call it that. But the merchants in downtown and the polls they did and the work that they put into that, I thought that was really neat. And there was just a lot of innovation and coordinated actions that went on by a committee that wasn't even truly formed. So that is very much something I find inspiring, that people can work together like that, especially in this day and age. And I think we should continue to look to take action on what they've found, and hopefully a true committee of some sort gets formed. And maybe that can combine with the TOT funding, or I don't know. Anyways, so I really appreciate that. And then I've had a few emails now about the recent opinion ruling made against the city by the United States Magistrate Judge from the Medford Division. And I will tell you, a lot of those emails start out with the city. And I just want to make it clear, I'm not the city. We could stand up here and take a vote on like an opinion and a statement, and we could say that as a declaration unified, but I just can't, as even the title of the mayor, say this is what the city is stating. But I take from that maybe people want to know my stand on it. So I want to make it clear this is my personal stand on it and how I viewed it. And I also want to make this clear when I say this, that none of us, right, were a part of that whole process when it started. Some of us I came in about the meat of it towards the end of it, and then the rest, everyone else right at the end of it. So I actually didn't even participate in any testifying or anything, but I did have some information. So if you don't know, there was a ruling made against the city by the United States Magistrate Judge from the Medford Division about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, something like that. So I want to urge the community to take time to review the ruling. It's 22 pages in length, and there is some legalese in there, but you can figure it out. I have to say I was really taken back by it, especially not really going into it with a preconceived notion. And what I'm going to tell you again is my opinion, but the use of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and more directly the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, was used to justify this opinion. This act is intended, if you don't know, to protect individuals, houses of worship, and other religious institutions from discrimination in zoning. While I was not a part of the original piece of this case, I reviewed the ruling and researched the case, and I feel that the city of Brookings clearly did not discriminate in their longstanding and unchanged zoning of the issue or area in issue. As a reminder, to discriminate means to make an unjust distinction in the treatment of different categories of people. Given the decade-long zoning that has existed since actually 1989 in that area, there was no discrimination done by the city in any way, shape, or fashion that I could see, in my opinion. While the building and the lot in question states they've been around in their current capacity since 1953, and the codes were not established till 1989, that wasn't the issue. The issue was the meal service, which were arguably started as early as 2009. After the zoning code was in place for 2 decades, I do not know how you could call that any type of discrimination. Why did the city take this issue up if in 2020-ish, since it had been in existence, the meal service since 2009? I think that's a fair question. The city, as a matter of operation, I've come to find out, usually functions to address issues on safety and complaints, especially zoning issues. Therefore, it appears the neighborhood did not see an issue to bring to the city for about a decade, until things became difficult in the neighborhood from that area, and they started complaining. That said, once the complaints are issued and the issue is pressed, the zoning laws are the go-to rules that settle the matter. That's the law. Also in this ruling, you may be surprised, I was very surprised to see that verses from the Bible were used to support the judge's opinion. I will tell you they were taken way out of context. I will give you examples. Deuteronomy 15:11 was the first verse the judge cited. I urge all of you to read Deuteronomy 15. You will see it is a passage clearly given to the Israelite people of that time, and it tells the nation of Israel to cancel everyone's debt every 7 years and to have slaves for 6 years, but let them go for 7. He took a sentence out of the middle of that to support his decision, but I am happy he left the slavery piece out. Also, Matthew 25:37, this is a passage talking about entering heaven or burning in hell due to spiritual malnourishment and starvation. And Luke 3:11, John the Baptist is berating the self-centered religious brood of vipers. So I thought, well, let's do some verses in context. So what about Matthew 5:9 that says, blessed are the peacemakers? Or Romans 13:1 that says, let every person be subject to governing authorities? Or concerning the safety and well-being of the neighborhood you live in, how about Mark 12:31? You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There's not a greater commandment than these. Obviously, that was the second one. Or Leviticus 19:18. You shall take no vengeance or bear a grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I could go on. Furthermore, to work within the law and to assist those in the zoning with their pursuits, the city did initiate and carry out public sessions to look for alternatives to work within the zoning. In another act of clear non-discrimination and in hopes of meeting the zoning law while allowing for the desires of those looking to do an outreach, a decision was made that allowed for a free conditional use permit at no cost. All but one entity followed this agreement and instead initiated a lawsuit. In reading this judge's opinion, you will find that the zoning laws were only addressed to be argued against the RLUIPA, what I talked about earlier. Once a discrimination opinion was justified in this ruling, you will see the city ordinance itself was not even a consideration. As a nation based on laws, this opinion should concern every citizen, and that is why it concerned me so much. I say this often and will continue to say it. Who you vote for and who you support counts. Every time. Either way. To this, I say thank you to all those who do follow the law, knowing that it does not in any way prohibit or discriminate. Rather, it sets the norms and standards by which a society has to abide by. Moreover, thank you to those who feed the spiritual hunger that is clearly going on in our society right now, without question. Thank you to those who do not try to rewrite the norms and standards of our society. Thank you to those who are helping our young women, for example, in times of need for true options, love, and help through things like the Pregnancy Care Center. Thank you to the young people who work with the real discriminative laws on religious freedom. They continue to carry out Child Evangelism Fellowship. And many others doing spiritual work without pride, vitriol, but they do it in grace and love. And thank you. I do believe this decision could be fought, and I believe, like I said just a minute ago, that the outcome of this decision is dangerous, as the precedent states for the city being able to rule by law. But I also do not believe that we can fight this on the back of our taxpayers. And that's my opinion. Anyone else?
Thank you for that.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll adjourn. 7:30.